Does size matter? Is bigger better? Let's talk about sensor size in our smartphones. This video will be short. It is a follow-up video for my previous audio photo video in-depth comparison. Vivo X200 Pro versus Vivo X100 Ultra. Before we even start, I want to be straight and clear. If you bought X200 Pro or you are planning to buy, there is nothing wrong with this phone. I can only congratulate you with your purchase. It is a very solid device that can output very nice results. I want to tell you, don't hesitate or regret your buying decision for even a second. Please don't try to sell your device or exchange it. You are set for multiple years ahead. This video will be just clarification for those who wonder, are there really that much difference? Where we can notice it? Where there will be no difference? And can it be a huge deal breaker? So it will be very helpful for you, my friends, who are curious. And also I want to show it to other kind of persons. Some of my previous videos brought lots of confusion, misunderstanding, and straight up crazy hate. It brought all kind of mentally unstable psychopaths that straight up need to seek help and urgent medical intervention. I got all kind of hate, cursing and insults. People called me different words and even sent me death threats. You know why? Because of these two words. Best mid-range. They just threw away a best part and focused only on mid-range. I don't know what kind of a victim of unsuccessful alien experiments the subjects should be to throw all kind of insults and death threats just by these two words. Other people throw me different accusations. How wrong I am. How I know nothing. Some accused me that I was lying. Others accused me that I used the wrong photos and made up all the results. Also, one individual accused me that I used OnePlus instead of Vivo X200 Pro. He looked at this reflection in my eye and sent me false accusations that I'm using OnePlus instead of Vivo X200 Pro. So, my friends, I felt like someone lit a zoo inside our cosmic campfire. I will show you on the screen how Vivo X200 Pro with this protection case looks like in reality. And you, Himanshu Sindhu, you still have time to apologize. I will wait. So, my friends, let's start. I will show you all the major differences in lots of situations. But once again, please don't take it personally. And do not hurry up and sell your device, because it takes worse photos in some situations. As I already stated, X200 Pro is a very nice smartphone. I called it best mid-range, not to insult your smartphone choice and you personally, but other corporations such as Samsung, Apple, Google Pixel, because in my humble opinion, Vivo's phones that I consider mid-range can beat lots of other smartphones that are considered high-end. And by the way, in the future, I will never use term flagship, because in my opinion, this is neuro-linguistic programming word. From very experienced marketologists, they invented this term just to brainwash us. There are certain check marks after which this or that product can be considered flagship. And if manufacturer is able to check all these marks, but completely ignore other aspects of the device, of the smartphones, of the tablets, laptops, cars. For example, they can put very basic or bad quality speakers. They can chip on connectivity. So they can chip on all other parts that are very essential for our user experience and still get away with it and call their products with these buzzwords: flagship, gaming laptops. By the way, soon I will review some laptops from 2024. And all these products are called gaming laptops, flagship gaming laptops. But I personally think that we should avoid this, and I will use my own tires from SA, Super Alien Technologies, to C, cringe. So, Vivo X100 Ultra on your left and X200 Pro on your right. We are using 2x digital crop on main sensor. And I think that I don't need to explain anything. Look at this part, at these vents, at all these lines. We can see even small individual details here, on this window, inside this chair, and all the details of these curtains can be seen through those glass. Small bolts and dots on this metal sheet, we can get an idea of all those textures. This is metal, this is painting on the stone, and this is clothes. with all its little textures. Everything is very well defined on X100 Ultra on this big 1-inch sensor, and I mean big in the smartphone world. And this is not just weird AI upscaling, it is a real textures that exist in reality. Like, please, look at these curtains. All these small metal lines. Lines inside this chair. I can easily read this. This vent is from LG, this is from Haier. I can see all those lines. Of course, we can look at it all day, but each time it will be the same. I can easily crop any part of this image, post it on social media, via some messengers, maybe email someone, or just zoom in and enjoy my photography. So I think you got an idea. In situations like this, image is infinitely better on X100 Ultra, on this main sensor. So everything on the image is well preserved. All these lines, even this texture on this wall, in the shadow part. I can see text, logos on some devices, metal lines. I can easily crop in any part of this image, and it will give me plenty of information. And even without zooming in, I can see more color gradients on the image of the X100 Ultra. Some parts are blue, some are green, some are yellow. I see more color separation on this image, while on this smaller sensor, I see small hint of green tint. But again, nothing criminal. This is not huge deal breaker. Please calm down, my friends. One may say, why are you using 2x digital crop? You just want to make X200 Pro look a lot worse than it is in reality. Who on earth will use 2x digital crop when you can just use second telephoto? But I want to explain you why. First of all, you will get different field of view. Image will be a lot tighter. Sometimes it is impossible to use more zoom levels, because you are in a restricted area, or there is no way to go further behind. I want to show you the difference between different focal distances. Both of these photos are made on Vivo X200 Pro. On the left we are using 1x main sensor, and on the right 2x digital crop from this sensor. And look how drastic is the difference. Our object is the same size in our frame, but results are completely different. Look how image on the left has very exaggerated characteristics. Everything in the foreground is very big and exaggerated. Everything in the background is smaller. And we are getting this very distorted image. It is a result of a perspective. Image is very warped. On the other hand, on the right, 2x digital crop, everything is how it should be. The perspective is very straight, how it should be in real life, how we see it in reality with our eyes. This is because 1x is using equivalent to 23mm, and 2x digital crop is somewhere around 46mm. Because different lenses serve different purpose. That's why photographers are using different set of lenses for different situations. The most popular lenses among photographers and videographers are 24mm. It is equivalent for 1x main sensor on smartphones, 35mm, 50mm and 85. Everything that below 24mm is considered to be ultra-wide. Everything below 85mm will have more perspective distortions. 25mm is usually used to group shots, 3 people, 4 people, landscapes, aerial shots. Maybe you want to shoot a building on a street. 35mm is very nice for full body shot, maybe 2 people, torso portraits, and 50mm and above usually used for portraits, faces of people. And your perspective is not so distorted. Like I showed you in this example, 2x digital crop shows you very accurate representation of reality, while 23mm will exaggerate stuff. As you can see, in the middle we have main sensor 1x, equivalent for 23mm. On the left we are using ultra-wide, and on the right 2x digital crop, 45mm equivalent. And as you can see, it is like 3 completely different persons. In reality, my face look like this on 2x digital crop. I saw some folks on YouTube who are using 1x very close to a face, making it very distorted and exaggerated. My face does not look like this. Nose is just too big. Lower part of my head is too small. My face is too skewed, too narrow. While on the left, what the heck? Who is this forest grandpa? So big nose. So you can see the result? Please, my friends, don't use 23mm for portraits this close. Just press 2x on your smartphone and you will get instantly better portraits. And all these photos I made by myself, self-portraits. I want to add telephoto lens. And as you can see, it is not an easy task to make a self-portrait with telephoto lens. It is 85mm equivalent, it is hard to frame, and I extended my arms as much as possible, and still it was very uncomfortable and almost impossible to take a photo of myself. So that's why 2x digital crop 50mm equivalent is so important in photography. I did the same with Vivo X200 Pro. Right now you are looking at the examples of X100 Ultra. And as you can see, we have similar results. Very distorted face, with weird looking characteristics, very large nose. Everything is just surreal. 23mm is better, but still it is nothing close to reality. And 50mm equivalent to X digital crop. My face starts to look almost like in reality, with very accurate perspective. And telephoto 85mm equivalent, very hard to take a photo of yourself. And also I want to mention, something is slightly off with colors on 1x and 2x. Not very consistent color of these red lights. And my face has slight tint. So as you can see, on conventional camera we can easily switch lenses, or by standard zoom lens, lenses are moving back and forth, and that's why we can have all these different focal lenses in one. But on a smartphone we can't switch lenses that easy. We get what we get. That's why digital crops will give us different focal lenses. You can't just buy new lens and place it on your smartphone, like on conventional mirrorless or DSLR. That's why these crops are essential. 50mm is essential in photography. It is so important. So no, I am not trying to make Vivo X200 Pro look bad by using 2x digital crop. I am just using the best focal lens that you can get for photography. Very practical, easy to use, that can give you very nice results, without any perspective distortions. It is just impossible to throw away this focal lens from your kit. So let's actually see some difference between X100 Ultra and X200 Pro. But in the context of this video, it has nothing to do with Vivo, with Ultra, with Pro, with high range, with mid-range, but larger sensor versus smaller one, inside smartphones and computational photography. And can I see the difference without zooming in? And yes, I can. For the most part, on colors, color gradients, but you need to have very trained eye to understand it. That's why let's just look at the level of details. And of course, image on 1-inch sensor will be better. More color gradients and small details, eyelashes. Please look at this part. On the top, on smaller sensor we lost some details, eyelashes, veins inside eye, texture of the skin, eyebrows. Is it a huge deal breaker? Not so much for most of people. That's why I'm saying, do not even bother. If you are active Vivo X200 Pro user, don't be upset about these facts. You have very nice smartphone, you can easily get so much with it. With good battery life, with nice exposure control on the video. Please just look at this video as entertainment and education. Don't be stressed out. No need for this at all. And even if you want to use 1x without crops, for some reason you want your nose to be a potato, let's see at this example also. And the situation is identical. You will get better skin tones, you will get better textures, better small details, you won't lose any eyelashes, and image will be overall more crisp. You can easily crop in parts of this image for social media. For example, I can crop in this eye and set it as my profile picture, avatar for social media, while on small sensor you will get these results. But again, without large zooms, maybe you won't even notice it. If you don't plan to crop in your images, you will still get very similar results in terms of tonal mapping and depth mapping. Of course, in ideal lighting conditions, during the daylight, maybe you will see less of a drastic difference, and one will say, why to zoom in that much? Why to crop? Everything goes on social media, and for those people I want to tell this. If we apply this logic to other smartphones, Why even talk about photography? Just buy any smartphone. Buy Google Pixel, buy Sony Xperia, buy Samsung, heck, buy iPhone, even old iPhones. If you are not planning to zoom in, look at your photos, crop, why bother at all? Buy anything, buy budget smartphone. Even budget smartphones will give you nice pictures during the daylight, in ideal good lighting conditions. If we are talking about high-end camera phones, with photography in mind, we need to actually talk objectively, because with such logic, we can't even compare different lenses against each other. For example, very expensive GM lenses and RF Canon lenses, Nikon Z mount, why do we even compare them? When we can buy cheap old DSLR second-hand lens that has very poor optical construction and will give us very blurry image. Why do photographers compare very expensive crystal clear glass against budget offerings that are very soft? By such logic, these comparisons are also useless. So, sorry my friends, if you have this opinion, I have to reject it completely. We need to understand and admire all these differences. Otherwise, all these comparisons are useless, and we can just buy budget smartphones and take all the photos during daylight, in ideal conditions. So, another example, 50mm equivalent 2x digital crop. Not only it gives us better perspective, without any distortions, also we are increasing our focal plane. More parts of our subject will be in focus, more parts will be less blurred. When we have very small aperture, we get less focal plane. For example, only 5 cm of our object will be in focus. But when we are using digital crop, we are increasing this focal plane. It starts to become 10 cm because we need to physically go further away, because our subjects need to be placed in the frame for the same size. Without any zooms, can we spot any drastic difference? No, we can't. Are there any differences if we will zoom in? Absolutely yes. Is the image on the left better when we are zoomed in? Yes, it is. Do we need to stress out about all this? No, we do not. Vivo X200 Pro users, congratulations, you still got a very nice smartphone. Firm handshakes for you. I'm really happy for you. And from the bottom of my heart, I wish you very nice photos. For your family stuff, for your memories, on your vacations, on your hobby, maybe street photography. I'm really happy that today all these technologies are more affordable for people. And also I love that a lot more people can experience this HP9 telephoto lens. I'm really grateful right now. But do we need to pretend that there is no difference in terms of main sensor? No, we do not. Difference is there, it exists, and only you can decide what to do with this information. I think that for average user, everyday moms and dads, you should absolutely not stress out about this. But for me, as a person who loves photography, who loves to crop, who loves to zoom, who loves to print photos in family album, print them large and place them in the frame on the wall, I absolutely love and enjoy these sensors. I love that I have all this kit and I can use 50mm when I want and get all these crisp details for all my photography maniacal needs. Without digital crops, 1x, and in some situations, you won't even notice a difference if you zoom in. We have some differences in focus, in focal plane. Some parts are more in focus on 1-inch sensor, some are more in focus on these smaller ones, but plus-minus image is the same, so not in every situation difference will be that drastic. But right now, the biggest difference that I can see is tonal gradients and textures. But again, you won't notice it too much if you don't have trained photography eye. I can easily, instantly spot all these small differences and inconsistencies. Not to be gloom and doom, I want to show another example maybe where you won't notice any difference, or difference will be very slight. Can I spot any difference? Yes, I can. Does image on small sensor looks more crisp? Sort of, but it is an illusion because it is using such algorithms. In reality, image was exactly like on the left. It is more true to life, more soft, but with more actual, real details. Everything looked exactly like this in reality. On the right it looks more like mold or crystals of ice. But in this particular example, untrained eye won't even notice it. So I won't comment too much on this example. I will choose image on the left any day of the week because it looks more organic, exactly how it was in reality. But for everyday user, difference is just negligible. Next example, where you probably won't notice too much difference, It cannot get any more plastic than this, because it is plastic doll. Image on the right is slightly more artificial, not so well defined. On the 1-inch sensor I can see each individual fur. In parts like this, I can notice this difference on each individual hair. And small individual details are more well defined on 1 inch. All these eyebrows, all these eyelashes, parts inside the eye, in the iris. But what I noticed, please pay attention to the eyebrows and lips on the X200 Pro. For some reason, its computation and AI drew all these lines. In reality, it was exactly like this. So it decided to draw some artificial lines. It used some imagination. All these individual hairs are totally fake. But do you care? I think not. For average user, I think it is completely irrelevant. Also, by the way, I have noticed on X200 Pro some weird dots on the skin of this doll. It was not a case in reality. I have noticed it on several occasions, even on portraits of people during the daylight. Very interesting stuff. Maybe background blur is a little bit better on 1 inch. But this is prime example, where difference is almost negligible, and you will still get very nice results. So X200 Pro users, I urge you to use 15mm, it will give you a lot better perspective without any distortions. And now I want to show you examples where difference will be very noticeable. Please get your popcorn and don't stress out. So, if we return to the first example, and I'm using JPEGs right now that Pro mode makes after shooting in Super RAW computational photography from Vivo. And I want to show you this example. Please look at this vent, at these metal lines. It is not just weird AI upscaling. These lines exist in reality. Here I want to show you image from Vivo X100 Ultra. It is very extreme zoom levels, and we can see how everything looks in reality. We can actually see all those lines. So I love how this big sensor is able to capture all these small details, even for RAW photography. And of course, computational super RAW photography. All these lines are kinda lost on small sensor. In this part, we can even get a hint of what is the brand name. And all these lines, as well as texture of the curtains inside those windows. There is a big difference between artificial details drawn by AI and fake algorithms, and details that actually represents the reality that we can see in real life by our own eyes. Image on this small sensor with its computation is very warped. Something is very weird going on inside those shadows. Image on 1 inch sensor is just very clean. Please pay attention to this part. We can actually see the texture and the form of those bricks on this road, while on small sensor everything is lost. Those bushes, image on small sensor is kinda mushy, almost everything is lost. Image on the left is very well defined, even inside those shadows. And we can easily read those plate numbers, and on the small sensor it is impossible to understand and read this. Not so well defined bolts, everything is smoothed out and not very defined. Well, here we can see each individual dot of these metal bolts. Here we have Samsung logo and all these textures on this building. Construction film on those windows, metal parts inside those vents. On the 1 inch I can see these textures and I can read the brand name, Bosch, while on the left, on small sensor, everything is very smooth and not so defined. So, I feel like you get an idea. Objectively, with 100% super duper ultra photo nerdity, we can understand that bigger sensor is better. Wow, who knew? Shocking breaking news. Let's see another examples. Another example, 2x digital crop. If you ask me a question, why didn't I use telephoto lens in this condition? And the answer will be that I could not. It was impossible to move any further. It was inside in very tight place. So the only possible way for me to take photo of this art inside this frame was to use 2x digital crop. I was literally pressed against a wall. No way I could move any further. So in some situations it would be completely impossible to use telephoto lens. And just look at that. Even though small sensor is using more aggressive computation, in these lightning conditions it was not enough to capture all these small details. On this paper, image on the left is just so much more well defined. And by the way, I made multiple shots, closed and reopened camera application, so I picked only the best results among all. More textures, more lines, and this is real-world example how we can utilize these main sensors. I'm making such shots all the time. Paintings on the wall and some other pieces of art where I want to show all the small details, small lines, everything how it should be in reality, to show people how it made. In reality it was exactly like this, not so soft, exactly crisp. Another painting and the same result. I was pressed against a wall and it was impossible to use telephoto lens 85mm 3.7x. Image would be too tight. The only possible solution in this situation was to use 2x digital crop 50mm focal lens. Without zooming in, maybe you won't notice too much differences. But if you want to actually show someone what your painting is made from, what is the textures and how it was drawn, the bigger sensor will give you a lot of advantages. To show your artwork, it is not even close. I can see all the strokes, all small dots, all the texture of this paint, while on the smaller sensor, on the right, we lost everything and it looks too smooth. Not all the strokes are visible. So for average user maybe it is nothing special, but for me it is so important, so cool and fun, so reliable. Like on your right we can see only 2 lines, while in reality it is a lot more complicated, and we can see all the textures of this frame. So there are real use cases where it can be a huge deal breaker for persons like me. That's why I will never use such terms as flagship, gaming laptops and other marketing materials, fluffs, buzzwords from these corporations. It does not tell us literally anything. We need to use our own tires and take price into consideration, and that's all. All this terminology just means literally nothing. Also, I see a lot better color representation, more color gradients. Image on the right has slight tint applied on all color range. Another very cool example, very representative. I used 50mm equivalent to get rid of the all perspective distortions. I wanted to take a photo of this small icon without too much zooms to notice the difference inside those pictures, but actually difference is huge. Please notice this huge difference. Image on the right has all these crisp, very defined details, all those textures, while image on your right looks like water painting. It lost almost all this crispness, and it started to behave very weirdly. So, in situation like this, it is night and day difference. All these small parts. On this horse, the boots, the dragon. All the textures on this side is just lost. But again, is it important for you? Maybe not. Maybe yes. For me, absolutely yes. Should you care about this? I don't know. I think not. But if you are like me, maybe. Consider this when you are buying smartphone. So, there are lots of use cases in real world where you want to use these main sensors and you can notice all these differences. Image on the right on a smaller sensor is more smooth, not so crisp. In some parts, the small dust is lost on the right, while on the left you can clearly see everything. Like here, we can actually see this dust, this small hair, this white scratch, and more texture on this plastic overall. Image on the small sensor just looks too smooth. I want to remind you, I made multiple photos and tapped on this exact part, closed and reopened application, so please don't leave me a comment that it is just a misfocus. I rechecked it multiple times. Is all this important for you? Only you have an answer for this question. So we have figured out that there is a difference In most of the situations with this main sensor, the bigger is absolutely better in most cases, and in some situations maybe you won't even notice it. Also, we learned about distortions and perspective. Different focal lenses will give you different results. Here is some example for you. Both Vivo X100 Ultra. On the left we have telephoto lens, 85mm equivalent, and on the right we have 2x digital crop on main 1-inch sensor, and it gives us roughly 50mm equivalent. But the perspective and distortions are very different. Look how, on the left, my face looks flat and wider on the 85, while on the right it is slightly more narrow. My nose is slightly bigger, while on the left it is smaller. Why does it matter? I will tell you exactly why. In some situations, especially if you are taking photos and portraits of people with white face, especially girls, women, if you are using 85mm telephoto lens, they can say that they look fat. They won't like the results. In such situations, for people with white face, you need to use 50mm or even 35. It will make their faces more narrow and more attractive for them. And on the other hand, if you get a person with slim narrow face, you can use your telephoto lens, 3.7x 85mm equivalent. It will balance their face and they will like how they look on this image, 85mm. But again, every person is different, different strokes for different folks. Not every time this formula will work. You need to experiment and figure it out by yourself. My advice is very simple. Use 85mm for head portraits, 50mm for torso portraits. If your model is very wide, you can use 50mm, and if your model is very slim, with narrow face, use 85mm, and use 23mm only for group shots. Please, never use very wide lens so close to your face. It won't make you a favor, only if you are a fan of ultra surreal image with potato nose and distorted forehead. Also, here on the left, I tried to use selfie stick, a very long selfie stick, to make self-portraits with telephoto lens 85mm, while on the right, it is 2x digital crop 50mm, but I was able to do this handheld without any selfie sticks. And you can see that I struggled a lot. The selfie stick was very shaky, and even with lots of natural daylight, it was almost impossible to take a steady shot. I need to use snapshot mode or very high shutter speed. While 50mm 2x digital crop, easy peasy. Even in low light conditions, handheld. That's why on my previous in-depth video comparison, Star Phones episode 3, we saw such examples with very drastic difference, where bigger 1-inch sensor gave us very natural, mirrorless-like results. It is so close to using dedicated real camera, while image on the right looks very plastic, very artificial. And this sets these two sensors light years apart, an abyss between them in some situations. Not only in portraits, but sculptures, cityscape, architectural stuff, nature. Image on the left is more crisp, more lines, very organic image. One image easily can be cropped and shared via social media, messengers. It can easily be used as a profile picture, as your avatar. Well, picture on the right, not so. If it is possible, I suggest to use telephoto lens. Image will be a lot better. But of course, sometimes your space is just too tight and it is impossible to use it. Text is very readable on the left, virtual reality, very well defined details on this palm. The sign Coca-Cola, not an advertisement, but it is more well defined, as well as this palm in the background. Text in the background and all these small souvenirs. On the right, text is not readable and everything looks more like abstract art. But again, it is just for you to decide, is it worth it for you? Do you need all this? Maybe yes, maybe not. For me, absolutely yes. Even fast-moving subjects can be affected. Snapshot mode, very fast shutter speed, 1/4000, and we can see that we get a very distorted image. All these crisp details are lost. Something weird is going on with the eyes. It tried to fix it with AI models, water painting effect. So you can see this difference in bunch of different scenarios. Especially I found very drastic results in low light conditions, at night with very dim lanterns from city lights. It was not that bright in reality, but it is an example that is easily visible for me even without zooming in. Image on your right is just too plastic, too artificial. Even these eyebrows, almost all of these eyebrows were drawn by AI. Almost no eyelashes, texture of the lips is lost, as well as texture of the skin. Also, as I showed you, small little doll had some black dots on the skin, and I can notice these dots on the face of human also. So to my eye, difference is very huge. But please use your own eyes. It is for you to decide what works what. I cannot help you in the buying decision. And if you have already bought X200 Pro, just completely ignore all this. If possible, just use telephoto lens. But I am very glad that I have 50mm option in my arsenal. If you want to see a lot more examples in different situations, ultra-wide, telephoto and extreme zoom levels, macro photography, fast-moving subjects, astrophotography, lots of portraits with face retouching, with fake bokeh, with tons of video examples, please check my in-depth Vivo X200 Pro versus Vivo X100 Ultra and Huawei Pura 70 Ultra, and of course Honor Magic 6 Ultimate Edition. This video is called Starphones Episode 3, A Last Hope. It is very in-depth, with tons of examples. It has timestamps, and it has lots of tips and tricks to help you with photography, and video as well. All links will be in the description and pinned comment, but now let's talk about video. Are there any difference in video? Unfortunately, for good or for not so, I noticed that video has some downside also. First of all the improvements, if we are talking about Vivo specifically, we can see on the software side, we have better color algorithms and better exposure algorithms. But if we are talking purely about differences on the hardware level, small sensor has tons of problems with noise, and not just color noise, but also luma noise. And luma noise is almost impossible to fix in post. You can easily fix color noise, but noise inside light and shadow parts of the image distort and warp all small details. They will be very mushy, and if you try to fix it, you will get tons of ghosting. As you can see in these examples, even during a daylight, I can see lots of noise. By the way, the LUT that Vivo provides, from VivoLog to Rec 709, is very strange. It gives you very green colors, and contrast levels are kinda soft. That's why I am using my own customized LUTs that I color graded manually. New VivoLog is very flat, I love it. But it is kinda tricky and not so easy to bring contrast in your scene. Also, you need very powerful hardware to realize all its potential, and this small sensor brings tons of noise even during a daylight. Please look at this example. In the sky, at the sea. It is so hard to fix it in post with noise reduction. If you will use the LUT that Vivo provides, it still will be there, but it won't be that noticeable. But as soon as you try to color grade manually, bring more saturation, more contrast, it will instantly jump at you. Also, this example, zip-tied image on the left, is a lot more well defined. It is 1-inch large sensor on Vivo X100 Ultra, and so-called almost 1-inch, but in reality not so, on your right, image is more bright, but we see lots of luma noise, and of course color noise, which can be fixed in post, but luma noise will give you very warpy distorted image. By the way, on Vivo X200 Pro it is impossible to turn off noise reduction when you are in a log. You know why? Because Vivo knows what kind of sensor it is using, and fully understands its limitation and forcing software noise reduction. I want to give you an example how I use Vivo X100 Ultra with this 1-inch sensor in real life. Practical example. I place it on a tripod and use it as second angle or top-down view for unboxing videos, or when I explain something about smartphones. Almost all my unboxing videos and stuff from the top I film on this 1-inch sensor with logarithmic curve, and image is very clean. For the first glance, it looks dark on the screen, but I can easily bring all those shadows up, and image still will be very clean. I apply zero noise reduction in post. I once tried to make similar stuff with X200 Pro with its small sensor, but had to reshoot everything, because I like dark moody style, and everything in shadows was very mushy. It was warping, it was moving, and made those shots unusable. I had to reshoot it on this 1-inch sensor. And by the way, I can use third-party application and use better logarithmic curve than Vivo log. It uses Sony S-Log3. I can use any color gamut, for example, Sony gamut, Canon gamut, ARRI colors, or I like Panasonic V gamut colors. And image will be even better, even cleaner than inside native Vivo app with Vivo log. If I try to do this with X200 Pro, it instantly shows all the limitations of this small, almost 1-inch, but in reality not so sensor. So we have lots of improvements in Origin OS 5, but most of them are just purely software. So that's why I want to see only improvements in terms of sensor size in the future. I don't want our smartphone lenses to be shrinkified. I want to see backside illumination technology. I want to see layer stacking on the sensor. I want to see better metal conductors. I want to see controllable aperture that we can close and open it, thus getting more focal plane. So everything will be more crisp and more details will be in focus. And also, one of the most important parts, I want to see physical shutter, for example, leaf shutter, like on Hasselblad lenses. But this is a topic for another video. I will make Smartphone of the Future 2.0. And now, I hope you are not bored, my friends. Again, nothing criminal about these differences. If your smartphone uses 1-inch sensor, congratulations, firm handshakes. If your smartphone does not, who cares? The same firm cosmic handshakes. And now I need to stop. Hope you learned a couple of tricks. And I wish you a very cosmic day. Now I want to finish all the videos about smartphones and start to test and review laptops, VR goggles and other technologies. See you over there.